Hello, English 122 students. Welcome to the middle of Module 13. Y'all, I have paused on giving the beginning of the week video this week because I've had my face like in a book all week long, but really in my screen trying to get caught up with assessing your writing and attaching a grade to that assessment. Because that's how I assess, that's how I help you to see the patterns in your writing. So you all, thanks for your patience this week. I've just been, as you know, trying to get through Essay 3, and it always takes me much longer than I planned for, which is my biggest lesson from spring 2022. Y'all, I have had a conversation with my boss, with the director over the online classes, and have shared my concern already with my boss about Front Range's policy that assignments are returned within a week. And when I'm reading essays that require so much attention to detail, your paragraph structure, the content of your paragraphs, the genres that you're using, the way those genres are blending together or not blending together, the way the essay parts are connecting together, sentence level accuracy, sentence level patterns. You know, I'm not even listing everything. Your use of sources, your commentary with sources, so many things I'm looking at. It takes me quite a while. And I've estimated this semester that it takes me double the time to read an online essay than it does to read a paper essay for my campus classes that I print off. So thank you so much for your patience, y'all. I have already, again, shared this with my my mentor, supervisor at work, and because of the way that I assess, have been giving permission to return papers within 10 to 13 days. So, you know, some of you have gotten it in within that time frame. Some of you have gotten it a little outside that time frame because I've been behind. But I can't tell you how thankful I am for your patience. I know you all want your essays back quickly, but I am not a robot. I am a human being, and so I get really fatigued reading online the same way you probably get fatigued when you're studying online. So the good news is that you get to revise something. So that's why I'm really here. The good news is you get to revise an essay. So you see that I have the Module 13 weekly schedule on the screen. And the good news is that you get to choose which essay you want to revise. So you all see what you're working on this week. It's kind of a light week. An extra credit discussion board is available. The Module 7 and 10 discussion boards are optional because they're not optional. I'm sorry. Some of you, okay, extra credit is optional. The Module 7 and 10, I'm putting it out there for you to review and or do. Some of you didn't do that work because it's not fun work. I know you all want to look and work slowly on sentence corrections and look and work slowly on sentence revisions or rewriting, changing the length of your sentences or changing punctuation marks that you aren't using readily enough. But that's the work you need to do for the revision that's due at the end of the semester. It's worth 250 points. It's 25% of your grade. And I'm really excited that that's available for you because now you get to look back at all four of the essays. You know, you have all four back. Some of you have submitted revisions, which I'll get back to you very quickly on Essay 1 and 2, and you may now be thinking about revising Essay 3. So this week was sort of a non-activity week, except that you're like learning about the instructions for the final assignment. You're trying to revise and finish Essay 4, and then thinking about what you're going to do to revise Essay 3 if you want to, and which revision will you choose for that big assignment at the end of the semester. So I hope you've had some time to kind of ponder these things. You know, you don't have to do anything on the discussion board, and you're not really, super active within D2L this week. So let me move my camera over. Let me go to the table of contents up here, and I just want to bring up, and I have two other things I want to talk to you about. I want to look over the instructions for the final revision so that you can hear me talking about it. I've received some. Oh, I think it's in Module 13. I thought I put it at the bottom, but I didn't. I've received some email questions about it, so I can offer some perspective from that standpoint too. Okay, so final revision instructions due May 9th, and then there's a reflection essay that you will submit with the revision that you choose, also due on May 9th. So you're technically turning in 2 essays. one of them you have already written, right? So I've had some questions this week about this part. It says that all 4 of these essays are eligible. These are the 4 essays we've written, the only 4 essays we've written, and you have to choose one of them. One of the questions was, well, if I've already revised it, does that mean I can only choose essay 3 and 4 because I've already submitted 1 and 2? And the answer to that is no, you'll actually revise it a 3rd time. So if you want to stick with essay 1 and really refine it, I don't think you can ever make writing perfect, but if you feel like you're striving for perfection, you can try to, through 3 revisions, make it perfect. But for those of you who haven't submitted any revisions, you're just choosing one of them and you have to revise. My comments in the assessment that I do of your writing, which I started talking about at the beginning of this video, should guide you. It doesn't mean you have to make those changes specifically, though I'll probably notice the same thing again, but it's there to guide you. And then you can also add other things that you didn't include when you turned it in the first time, or things you've thought about including now. So I'm just checking something. I just got an alert on my phone and it's school related, so just give me a moment to do that. I apologize. Okay, never mind. I just need to make sure because I'm sorry I had to pause because yesterday there was a fire outside of Longmont to the west and just stuff's on my mind like that. So, yeah, you're picking one essay. And then you're writing a second essay. This one is an all new one. And then you click on this link here to get the instructions for the reflection. So the reflection essay has to be about the essay that you choose to revise. And you're basically taking me through your revision process and giving me some insight into what you revised, why you revised, what quality you think has been added to your writing. Quality of writing is a weird phrase, y'all. It makes it seem like you're striving for some perfection or somebody else's writing, and I mean quality of writing within the rhetorical situation that you defined for yourself. And I will ask you to identify your reader in this reflection essay so that I can understand what reader you're writing to a little bit better than maybe I have all semester long. But to be honest, y'all, I try to be as open-minded about how you're writing your piece. I try to assume that you're not writing to me and that you're writing to other people who need the information you're writing about. So, this reflection essay is one of my favorite things to read. I really love essay 3 and essay 4 because I get to see how you're putting many more elements of the rhetorical situation together. I get to see your use of creativity and critical thinking in a different way than I did with the rhetorical analysis, which was a more academic assignment. So, I'm always excited about essay 3 and 4 because by the time we get there, you're doing so much thinking about how you want to design a piece and communicate and express. But the reflection essay is one of my favorite because I get to understand your perspective of your own writing, how you started writing it, where it went next, what happened when you revised, what you think about it. And that's really the purpose of the reflection essay. So you're submitting 2 things. A revised essay, something you've already written this semester, making it the piece that you have desired to write all semester to make it the best piece of writing possible, and then a reflection essay on that revision. So then I'm a pain in the butt, right? And then I say, so in the revised piece, I'm going to specifically be looking for sentence variety, which you have studied this semester. This is why you all are looking back at Module 7 and Module 10 discussion boards this week to see some of the work you've done, because some of that is sentence correction. Writing that has errors stops the reader. The reader is interrupted trying to figure out what's going on because the error is present. Sometimes the error causes confusion. Sometimes it's just kind of like a little blip and then we can move on quickly. It depends on the type of error, right? So sentence correction is important, but sentence variety is also important. So you see that I've listed here the things that we have studied already this semester. Module 10 was where we studied the majority of this work, and I'm highlighting what we studied that day. And then the extra credit assignment is mentioned here for Module 13, where I ask you to find some sentences that you've seen while you've been reading this semester that really stood out to you as beautiful sentences, powerful sentence, a kind of sentence you aspire to write. So you have a lot of options. I also want to point out that I don't tell you how many of these sentences I want. That's not about that. I'm looking for sentence variety. So I think all of your paragraphs should have sentence variety. There shouldn't be a repetition of pattern. That is so strong that as a reader, all I can see is that pattern, and not that you're expressing through different sentences. So I'm really challenging you here to apply some sentence variety work. You have 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks to focus on that. So I would start thinking about, you all, which essay you want to choose. Your choice for revising essay 1, 2, 3, or 4 is yours. Many people have different reasons for choosing these essays. It might be based on the original grade, and you're trying to feel safe about a choice, so because you know it's worth 25% of the grade. Awesome, that's your reason for choosing. Some people want to choose based on how much they want to improve. Maybe one of the essays was your lowest grade, but you really want to strive to improve that piece and really learn how to write that piece more effectively. So that's your reason for choosing an essay. Maybe you want to just pick your favorite one, the one that you felt the most connected to, and you know it needs some work, and you're excited about that because it's your favorite piece. You like the topic a lot. You're excited about it. That's your reason for choosing. So everybody's choosing for a different reason. I have the privilege of learning from you through your reflection essay about why you chose what you chose, how you see the piece, how it's revised over time, all that stuff I already said. I get to read that, and then I get to read the essay again. So I will read 2 essays at the end of the semester with 250 points. I read them holistically. I'm looking for the same criteria that I've been returning to you on that green comment sheet that I give you. So I'm looking for your use of the rhetorical situation in the reflection essay and your use of the rhetorical situation in the essay that you choose. All right, so let me know if you have questions about that, you all, because I'm happy to talk through this with you. I did not click on the reflection essay instructions, but when I do, they come up and you all can read through. It has to be 3 pages. Yes, you're going to be including some sources. During week 14 and 15, I'll have you looking at some of the sources that I will provide for you that you can use to reflect on writing, revision, rhetorical situation, theory of writing, definition of writing. Some of the stuff you've already read, some of it's been in the textbook, some of it's been in a few handouts that I've shared throughout the semester. So I'll remind you of what those things are or were, and then I'll probably add in a couple of sources as well. And then you have all the deadline information here. Last thing I want to talk about, you all, is that I've noticed quite a bit in essay 3 as I've been reading them. And I anticipate this is happening in essay 4 as well, because you're focusing on writing an argument. You're in the early parts of your writing process. You're revising this week, but still maybe kind of in an earlier phase of writing process. And you're focusing on a modality, so it's like taking you outside of the writing a little bit to focus on document design or making something that represents your position or the expression about your topic that you want to come to life through this analog component, through visual rhetoric and other things that we've talked about. So I've noticed in the writing, y'all, that, especially essay 3, that there are many places where you could say more. And the famous word that English teachers always use is develop. And students always say to me, what do you all mean, develop? What are you talking about, develop? So develop means saying more, adding details, like examples or descriptions, or making a comparison, not just mentioning a comparison, but actually like explaining what the comparison reveals to you, commentary, all kinds of things I could have listed here. This is not an exhaustive list. So I've noticed, in other words, gaps. And what happens when you're a writer? The gaps get filled. Do you all know what I'm talking about? You're typing and you're reading through what you're saying and you're like, oh, it makes sense to me. But when a reader comes to the text, the reader doesn't have the benefit of being in the writer's mind and seeing where those gaps are filled with the writer's thinking, which is what happens sometimes when you read through your own essay, because you get so caught up in the essay and the order of it, you don't always see the spots where there are gaps, right? So another way to think of this, and this sounds really weird, but it means that the writing is superficial, or it means that you're writing it on the surface, but you haven't gone deep enough to give enough detail so that the reader all the way understands. And y'all, what is really happening is that the writer and the reader connection isn't all the way connected. it means that the writer hasn't thought about what the reader needs to fully understand. The writer has only thought about what the writer needs to fully understand with that extra information in the brain that hasn't gotten onto the page yet. That's really what's happening. So I want to help you to develop your piece. I want to help you to develop your piece, and here are some strategies that you might try. So if you are looking at your essay 3 right now, and you're seeing me say, add more detail, add more of this, expand your comparison, add examples, I'm trying to help you to develop. I'm using that teacher talk that you have heard for years, but trying to help you to see where you can and how you can make those improvements. So things to think about, strategies to connect better with your reader, because you're the writer, is to add more information from your perspective as a human being, or from sources as you see I've added in the second bullet point. But then remember, when you're using sources to add more information, that your sources should not have more of a voice in your writing than your voice. So always adding your commentary to help readers to understand how the source is filling the gap, why the source is necessary in your writing, without writing a sentence that says, this source is necessary in my writing because, right? It's actually, connecting to the ideas that you're trying to express in your piece. Specifics are beautiful, I say, so then I just give some more examples. Think about the tropes we learned early in the semester. Can you add a simile? Can you add an analogy, which is an extended metaphor, really? So you give the metaphor or you give the comparison, because analogies, similes, metaphors, they're all comparisons, right? So you can do a flat, plain comparison that doesn't add extra meaning, because that's what figurative language does. It gives an extra meaning to your piece. But a flatter comparison just compares two things, and then you just kind of explain what one thing has and what one thing doesn't have, or what they have in common, right? And that's fine. That's a great comparison. But then you can have a trope that adds an extra level of meaning as well. And analogies are extended ones where you kind of explain it out and you keep the comparison going for a while. So do something like that to fill a gap. You can add your voice. What do I mean, add your voice? Your personality. Maybe you want to try some humor. Maybe you want to express some other emotion in your writing so that we understand the topic from your point of view. Maybe you have some personal experience you can use as evidence. Maybe you want to add a level of meaning that you haven't provided yet through reflection. So lots of things you can do to add your voice. I want to point out quickly that voice and exigence are pretty connected too, right? So then that would be you increasing your reader's sense of the urgency around the topic, or your passion for the topic, or wherever you're going with exigence. You could persuade more, convince more. You could give more context. So sometimes when you mention things in your writing and you kind of write them in a general way, it could help to point out what was happening at the time that this information was received. I sometimes talk to students about talking about their sources, for example. Some students will email me and say, is this kind of source okay for this writing? And I'll mention that you could even explain the reason why this source was really important in your piece. That's context. That's not the only kind of context you can give. You could, if you had talked to somebody about your topic, and there was a conversation or some dialogue, you could talk about that as an anecdote, that you spoke with a few people, at your office or at the coffee shop or wherever you were, and sort of did an informal survey. And you set that up, right? That's context. When you set something up before you tell it, that's providing context. So lots of ways you can develop your writing is really the point of this video. You all, the end of this video, we started with me talking about you getting your essays back, and then you thinking about which essays you're going to choose for revision. Not only because you're allowed to revise each of the essays once this semester, but because there's a revision required at the end of the semester that's worth a great component of your grade. We moved into looking at the assignment, the final revision assignment, the reflection essay, and now I'm helping you to think about development, because at the end of this video and at the end of this class, you're being asked to think about the role of revision in your writing and how that's played a role in your writing in this final assignment that you're submitting. And this is one of the ways you can revise, is to go back through, look for places in your writing that need to be developed. Or, as I said earlier, fill the gap with information. fill the gap with something else. Or think of it this way. Make sure your reader understands your point and your expression all the way, and trying to distance yourself from your piece so that you're not the writer reading your own writing, trying to be the reader the best that you can. And that is really tough, y'all, because you have to shift your brain to another way of thinking, to look for places where the writing could be developed. That's your goal, right? So that it's fully developed. So let me know if you all want a check-in meeting. The Module 13 and Module 14 check-in meeting signups have been available all week. And I will do probably a few days the week of week 15, but won't have as many options, since the last day you can do a check-in meeting is April 29th. That's the deadline to earn the 50 points. So y'all let me know if you want to meet about your writing. I'm happy to help you to come up with ideas for how to develop your writing, and if you're having trouble finding where it needs to be developed, we can talk about that too. Though you probably have some guidance from me already on that, but certainly we can look at some more writing and I can help you out. You'll have a great end of week 13. Please be looking for your revised Essay 1 and your revised Essay 2. I'm going to try to get those back to you by Saturday of this week. I'm talking by, so what's the date tomorrow? By the 23rd, so that you have those to be working on for the final revision. But I think your goal this week, in addition to submitting Essay 4, is thinking about which essay you want to revise for that final assignment. All right, take care. I'll talk to you later.